Good day. This time on Sailing Roquetta, I'm going to install one of those Chinese diesel heaters in my boat. None of this video will be about dissing Chinese diesel heaters because, for me, they're incredible value for money. A German-made equivalent, of course, as you'll know if you've been looking into these things, is over £1,000. It's a lot of money, plus the installation accessories. Mine has arrived in the post. It was £92 from Amazon. There it is. There's the heater. It came with a box of accessories. I'm basically just going to throw all of those in the bin because they aren't for marine use, and it shows. Actually, they're not top quality. What I have done is got some proper exhaust for like a planar heater or an Eberspacher, I think. Some insulation for the hot air ducting. Got a lot of that. Some hot air ducting, and this. Take a good look. That has got to be 4mm thick stainless steel there. That's a mounting plate for the heater itself, which, I mean, it comes with one, but it's just, I'll show you in a minute. Now, all of these accessories, so out of the kit that I bought, I'm only going to use the actual heater. The rest of it is basically going in the bin. And what I've done is upgraded all the accessories. The hot air ducting there, this amazing stuff, which is heat proofing for the exhaust. And it comes in a tube which is expandable. And that will just slide over the exhaust. Much easier than using fiberglass exhaust wrap. The through hull, that one came from eBay and comes with all the bits and pieces to fit it, including both gaskets and the inside backing plate and even the fixing screws. So I should be able to just put that straight on. It's howling a gale here today. You can probably hear the door swinging open and closing. So I've got that, and that pretty much sums it up. Now, all the accessories that I'm going to be using to install I got from a place called Melor Online. I'll put a link in the description. I don't get a kickback from those guys. It's just that if I've, or any of the people that I mentioned, it's just that if I've received what I think is very good service, why not give them a mention? You know, it was a good price. I ordered it on the Friday morning. Postage was nominal, and it arrived on the Saturday morning. Pretty stunning service, really. Melor Online, they're called. I'll put a link anyway. If I can get the through hole for the exhaust installed and the mounting plate for the unit installed, and let's just go way out there and say, what if I could get the exhaust system fully installed today? That would be a major win. In order to do that, I've got to move the fuel tank, which means, of course, climbing into the starboard locker again. I don't think I'll be in there for long. There's the fuel filter. I don't think getting that off is going to be too much of a problem, is it? Come on then. You know, it's no fun at the best of times getting in here. Getting in here in the pissing rain. It's even less fun. Come on, you two. Keep the rain out. Alright, so the fuel tank is just beside you now. It's like a third full, and I've deliberately run it down so that I can do this particular job. If I move it, I'll be able to reach where I'm drilling for the exhaust for the heater much better. And I'm going to move it down into this corner. Something which I've long wanted to do. And the reason that I wanted to do it for a long time is because having that much weight high up on the corner of the boat there, at the back, is not a good thing. It's a bad thing. You can see the exhaust for the engine there, and the space beside it where I'm going to drill for the exhaust for the heater. So I reckon about there, I reckon that'll do really nicely. Let's go with that. So bloody sick of crawling around in this locker. So sick of it. Yeah, but so that's a 38mm hole saw, because the skin fitting itself is 35mm, so that's going to be just perfect. So that seems to have worked. Not only that, well, I do seem to have managed to retain a bit of a gap around the fitting, which is a good thing. Although, and I've seen people really go to town on these fittings in terms of insulating them, the whole thing is designed to not transmit heat to the hull. So all you really need is the gaskets that come with it. You don't need to go berserk. Well, you know, not too berserk anyway. I mean, you've got to use all the gaskets. Well, that went remarkably well, I have to say. Of course, we don't over till the fat lady sings, and she ain't singing yet. So all that remains for this part of the install is for me to retrieve my duct tape. I'm absolutely filthy. All I've been doing is crawling around in there. Alright, we're back to the GoPro. I happen to have some leftover bronze bolts, nuts and bolts, from another project. And you know, there have been so many projects, I can't even remember what project it was. But if I've got this right, I should be able to just roll the heat up. There's a little support there, look. Come on. Just like that. And yeah, there's clearance between the bolts and the heaters, so I haven't got to bother trimming those. And that is where its final home will be. I've deliberately melted the L shape so that the long bit is out this way instead of up that way. I've done that to leave an air gap behind the heater, and because that'll be a good place to run that wiring, which I don't really want hanging out around where the exhaust is going to exit. It also gives me a bit of space here so that you'll see it in a minute. I bought a 90-degree angle to go on the exhaust because, annoyingly, this is the warm air outlet. That's the exhaust. So effectively, because I want the exhaust to go out the back of the boat, it's the wrong way round. Ideally, I want the exhaust back here, and there's the fuel inlet. So you have to be a little bit mindful when you're installing all of this to make sure that you've got adequate runs, really, of stuff to go, you know, to take an expedient route to the exhaust without fouling anything or touching anything that it shouldn't be touching. I'm going to bolt it in and maybe try and fit the exhaust. Maybe I'll try and do that, because that's one of those jobs that's potentially, it's a little bit convoluted. That, you see, it's sold as a diesel heater. What it is, of course, is a mini carbon monoxide maker. So you've got to be very, very careful where you route things, so that even if there is some sort of failure, it doesn't lead to instant death. Because in an enclosed space like a one-cabin boat like that, if that diesel heater goes wrong, or if I'm dumb enough to route the exhaust straight past the inlet for the warm air, it's good night, sweetheart. And of course, only a complete idiot would install one of these on their boat and not fit a carbon monoxide alarm. I won't be running it in anger until I've got one. Well, here we are a bit further along then. Ow! Fuck me. My head is bleeding. My back aches. My knees hurt. And that's how you know that you're doing boat maintenance. This stuff is called sodor. It actually is called that. Look, sodor, and it's exhaust paste. So it's heat curing. It is exactly the right thing for this, because that's important. Way too much on there, but that's okay. We'll make a nice seal there. You may be asking yourself, or maybe you aren't, I don't. You may be asking yourself, why am I smearing it around this part of the tube instead of around the inside of the other one? Because that would be easier, wouldn't it? It's because there will be excess on here, and I want it to squeeze out of the system, not into it, because, well, that's good practice anyway, and because these heaters apparently are quite sensitive to back pressure in the exhaust, which is another reason why I've gone to the immense trouble of shortening the exhaust by the 6 inches. That's all it was, but I didn't need, because the less you have the better. Well, get on there, get on there. Bend that exhaust now into the position I want it in, and I'll give you a shot of the whole thing, hopefully exactly where it will remain. Something like that. Obviously the wires that are there I'm going to tidy up, but the point is, it's got one of those swan necks in it. It's well above the waterline anyway. It's as short as I can have it, and there's enough clearance between the exhaust and everywhere else for it not to be an issue, and it's properly clad. Now, I'm certainly not a heating engineer, I'm not a marine engineer, I'm not an engineer of any kind really. If you are, and you want to put a comment in to say what I've done right or done wrong here, that would be very welcome. It's one of those things where you can't just blag it, because of what it can do. Anyway, well, I think that's going to be pretty good. I think it's okay, I'm happy with it. I'll tighten up those fittings after I've run it up. And now I think it's time for the fuel system. And that, I reckon, I mean, there's the pipe for it. It runs annoyingly close to the exhaust, doesn't it? I don't like that at all, but what can you do? So it's day 2. Yesterday I worked until my fingers and head were bleeding and my whole body hurt. God, too much is too much. So I've got a route to my ducting, and so far I think the only sensible thing I can really do at the moment is put it through there. That was pre-existing, that little hole there. Might as well use it. What I'd ideally like to do is route it behind the engine so it comes out under here, but unfortunately the gearbox coupling is right there. You know what's going to happen. If I route it there, there'll be a price to pay, but I think I can get it along there and through there. Let's have a go. Let's just see if it'll... Let's see if it'll go. It's going to go on there with a clip, of course. Down there, maybe it can go through that little hole that's already there. Okay. Hold on a minute. So, something like that. And even though my torch battery is running out now, you can get pretty much an overview of what I've done there. Oh, I've got to tidy up the wiring and all that other nonsense. But this is got a circlip on it now. This pipe seems to have taken the curves quite well. You've got to be careful because you don't want, the last thing you want really is tight curves in the air pipe. That won't go well. on to fuel tank fitting, I think. Well, with the heater comes this thing. It's obviously a fuel supply. It's supposed to be wired into the tank. Now it says in the instructions, from what I can make out, because they're all in broken English, or not broken, but just not very understandable English. This is supposed to be used on metal tanks, or it's your option for using it on a metal tank. I'm not sure why, but there it is. There's also a little spigot that you can use on your existing plastic tank and kind of pull through, but what that means is drilling a hole in the bottom of the fuel tank. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to have this pickup that's going to go in from the come on. I got you. There we are. Of course, once this goes down the hole, that will be that. Yeah, see if I can give you a better look. Got this amazing aftermarket fuel cap from eBay, only $29.99 delivered, which I think is brilliant. And so, the time has come. Let me just give you a look at what I've done. It's cold, it's windy, a bit of a chill in the air. What I need really is an effective heater. So, I've resighted the fuel tank. There it is, all plumbed in, ready to go. It's all secure in there. And up there, I have, there's the pump, there's the heater. You can see the exhaust hopefully up there. Nothing's touching that, and even if it was, it's all properly lagged and everything. Now, I've already primed the pump. We'll see how that works out. Something that I noticed with those heaters is because they're not really designed for marine use. The air intake, and by that I mean the cold air intake for the heater, is just open to atmosphere, and of course if it's installed in the locker there, it's open to the locker, and that's where the exhaust is, so that's really not the best idea. The spare conduit that I've got doesn't fit on the intake, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get some slightly larger conduit. I think it'll probably be 80mm or something, because the standard size for that is 75mm, so 80mm will do it. And I'll put that on the back of the heater and lead it to outside the boat, so that it's drawing in clean air from outside. The issue is, if that exhaust leaks, the exhaust fumes are just going to get sucked straight into the cold air side of the heater and blown into the cabin. Of course, as I said earlier, I'd be a complete idiot if I didn't have a carbon monoxide alarm. I've got my fire extinguisher ready. I've already primed the pump on there, and the way you prime it on this, because I've got the one that doesn't have the digital display, all you do is turn that right up to max. You can see the little red lights lighting up. Turn it right up to max, press and hold the off for 3 seconds, and you hear the pump going tick 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 tick, trying to pump air out, and you can watch it doing it. It's very, very good. I've done that already, so now I'm just going to start it. Is it doing it? What's happening? It is, it's doing it, I think. Yes, I can feel air coming out of the vent, so here's the vent that I've just put in here. Can't even hear it at the moment. But once the combustion part of it kicks in, I think it's going to ramp right up. My volts there have just gone from 12.9 to 12.6 in an instant. Oh, 12.5, there we are. So it's sucking the amps. There's a 15 amp fuse in the line, but it's I think on start up it draws like 6 amps, but only for 5 minutes or something. It's the uncertainty I can't stand. I don't know if you can hear that or not. I think that must be the combustion chamber kicking into life. Let me just open this. Hear that? Hear the pump just ticking away there? Right. Let's see. Down to 12.4 on the voltage now. Oh, it's revving up now, I can hear it. You can hear that. Oh, that's definitely getting hot now. That's great. Toasty for the winter! It looks like it. Nothing's caught fire yet. I will have to, of course, you know, check everything. Let me come back to you in a minute. I'll let it run up and then we'll have a little look. I'll tell you something, it's cold out there, but it's not cold in here. That's on its minimum, absolute minimum setting now. The volts have gone back up to 12.7, so it isn't really sucking it dry, is it, the battery? That's great. And there's enough heat coming out of this vent now, that's just lovely. Oh my god. You know, it's warm as toast in here, and I've got the main hatch and the fore hatch open. I think it might be too hot. Which in winter in the UK is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Not sure what I'll be doing next time, but it'll be something great, won't it? I don't know what though. Stay tuned.